Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. Another great article here from Mike over at Light Reading. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So I wanted to recap, right? We got a lot of information today, maybe not specifically new information, except a few additional pieces that I'll cover in this video that we did not know prior to the announcement today or even after the event that we got in this Light Reading article, which, like I said, I'll leave a link to that in the description so you guys could check it out. But I just wanted to recap and talk a little bit more about what really transpired today and why this was such a big event, right? One, we already knew about T-Priority. We knew about that like 4 months ago. We already knew that T-Mobile was doing the slicing. We already knew that T-Mobile was going after first responder agencies. This is nothing new that we didn't already know. They disclosed it at several earnings calls now. They talked about it at a Capital Markets Day. They talked about it at a few conferences. So it's nothing that we didn't already know. What really transpired today was a marketing blitz. T-Mobile is great at telling their story. They're great at marketing. That's what they've been doing for over a decade. They are excellent at doing so. That's an area that AT&T and Verizon totally fail. They fail in that area, in that expertise. And that always leaves them to having to react and respond. Like you will see in this article, AT&T had to respond because this is big, right? You cannot take this lightly because T-Mobile is a growing company. They like to grow and they like to hype up certain situations like this one that are bigger than what they actually are. And let me further explain, right? I will not dispute that T-Mobile has the best, most powerful, largest 5G network. We just can't because there's too many numbers and statistics and testing out there that says T-Mobile has the largest 5G availability, the fastest network. And you can look at root metrics, you can look at OpenSignal, you can look at Ookla. There's just too much out there to reference, right? So I'm not going to dispute that. But I will say in this video, I have to be honest, open. I will say in a city like New York City, usually you don't want to say you can guarantee, but I almost guarantee you guys that Verizon today still has a much, much larger portfolio in regards to in-building solutions in the city. Right? So that, right, you could say, well, wouldn't that technically make Verizon the better network to have? If we're talking in-building solutions, underground subways, right? Putting the DAS systems there. And I know it's going to be debated, but I guarantee you, almost guarantee you that Verizon still has a larger portfolio today. Now that may change in the future, but today that is still the case. And very, very likely AT&T has a deeper portfolio there too. Not to say that T-Mobile hasn't done any work. I mean, they clearly got this large account, and it is per Collie Field, it is the largest or one of the largest wins in the history of T-Mobile for Business. So they must have done something right. If I had to take a guess, I don't know how the full process went, but I'm sure New York City tested this prior. They probably got a bunch of devices. They gave it to the teams, the first responder teams, hotspots, tablets, phones, you name it. They got it. They tested it, and they determined that it was enough to meet their needs. Right now, that's not to say that T-Mobile is going to not run into issues. They probably will, and they were quite transparent about that at today's event. And there's even some fine prints that'll say, and this is pretty standard across all carriers, that we may not have coverage in some areas, or we may have issues, right? You just have to, from a legal perspective, you do have to put that in the fine print. So let's go over the article here quickly. There's some new information that we learned. So Field said that T-Mobile counts around 2 million customers in the nationwide market for first responders. So they got 2 million, right? Still behind Verizon and AT&T, but they're growing. That would leave AT&T Verizon to command the remaining 12 million public safety connections in the market. So the 12 million, the remaining, right, is split, or however it's split between AT&T FirstNet and Verizon Frontline, right? So just so we're clear on that. But Field said T-Mobile has been rapidly growing its first responder customer base since it launched its T-Priority 5G network slicing service for the first responders late last year. So they've been gradually, rapidly growing that service. She said, while I can't share particular customer numbers, I can tell you that our funnels in this area have grown over 10 times. So just imagine where they're going to be next year and then the year after. I mean, they are growing those channels at 10 times. That is an impressive growth rate that even after today's event, right, that funnel is probably going to be even bigger than it was prior to this event. Because like I said when I started the video, T-Mobile is very good at storytelling. They had a fire chief on the stage in tears, crying. They know how to present. They know how to do these events. They know the proper timing, and they know how to tell a story. And it makes you feel like it's bigger than it actually is and better than it actually is, right? Not throwing any shade at T-Mobile. They knew exactly how to pull this off. And they've been doing this. And they still, for what it's worth, have this just about the same leadership team intact, right? They lost John and maybe a few other pieces, but you know, the ground, the foundation is still pretty much there, and they just know how to do it. To compete with AT&T's FirstNet and Verizon Frontline, T-Mobile has been emphasizing its public safety business over the past few years with various discounts, services, and promotions. T-Mobile also argues that it offers first responders 40% more 5G capacity than its rivals, right? So when you're touting 40%, right, capacity, that's 40% is going to eventually slowly, gradually go down as Verizon continues building C-band, as Verizon gets their SA core online more at scale, right? 40% is a large number. So I don't want to say that T-Mobile peaked because they still have C-band. They still have other spectrum assets to tap into, right? They still have more densification that they can build. But I don't think we see that number go to like 60 or 70%. As an example, when Verizon and AT&T are furiously building their own mid-bands. And then we still have AT&T's, with the 4.9 in the pipeline as well. So that 40% is an opportunity for right now that they can tout. The slicing is another very interesting part, and that's a monetization, right? So we've been working with slicing now since 2023. Ulf Edwardson, T-Mobile's president of technology, told Light Reading. That work stems from T-Mobile launch of standalone 5G technology in 2022. T-Mobile uses a converged cloud-native 4G/5G core from Cisco and recently put its telco cloud into the Red Hat OpenShift platform. So that's a very, very interesting piece to this as well. They're using this as well to tout not only the technology itself, but they're also monetizing this for $7.50, right? We have to acknowledge that. So there's been a bit of controversy as well for T-Mobile in New York City. For those of you who remember the Nextwave situation, T-Mobile has faced some challenges in New York City. For example, FCC officials recently found that the company's 5G network was interfering with Nextwave's 2.5 network in the city. FCC officials haven't responded to questions about possible repercussions or how T-Mobile might rectify the interference. T-Mobile officials declined to comment on the Nextwave issue. If it's sitting with the FCC, it's probably a issue that can't be discussed publicly just yet. However, a source at a network monitoring company told Live Reading that T-Mobile's 5G performance in New York City has not changed in recent months. So they really haven't changed anything. And then Ulf, the person in charge of the network, said we don't have interference issues on the network side as it stands today. So the rest you guys can check out in the comments. Like I said, there was an AT&T response. As you see, AT&T on Thursday took aim at T-Mobile's newest network slicing announcement. While other network solutions might say they are devoted to public safety, they hide the truth in fine print, throttled speeds during an emergency, and a network build based on the bottom line, not the needs of public safety, said AT&T's FirstNet president Scott Agnew in a statement. Right, and then T-Mobile simply responded here that they said in a response that this is a general network disclaimer that you will find in all carriers. That was T-Mobile's response. So like I said, it's competitive. It's getting feisty. The carriers are going to go back and forth. But for the most part, how T-Mobile, how good they've been at marketing, how good they've been at telling a story, they're leaving AT&T and Verizon in a position where they have to react, where they have to put out stuff publicly like we just saw from the president of FirstNet. They have to do that because T-Mobile is putting them in that type of position. I'm telling you guys right now, when the Starlink commercial came out at the Super Bowl, it put AT&T in a very tough spot, right? Because this gives T-Mobile the priority in a sense, right? They are the first to go to market with that product. So they set the tone, they set the pricing, and that really ticks AT&T off, right? I haven't really heard much about that from Verizon, but AT&T is furious that T-Mobile was able to do this first. And, you know, we are in a possible situation where AT&T with AST and Verizon, since they're partnered, they might be a year or more away from still launching their version of satellite. So this is an interesting time. Watch T-Mobile work, right? I'll leave you with that, right? The debating, is T-Mobile ready? Do they have the network? I mean, we can do that in the comments all day long, but watch T-Mobile work and grow that business. They know how to do this very well. 2 million customers as of today, right? That's what the president of business, Collie Field, discussed, 2 million and growing, right? That's how you look at it. It's not just 2 million and it stops. No, it's 2 million and growing. And we already know the funnel is 10 times, is growing at a rate of 10 times, right? So, and that probably accelerates after today. So it's an interesting time for T-Mobile, right? They are still, even though they they got rid of the uncarrier basically, right? We probably won't get those announcements anymore. And they're still able to figure it out because they can tell a story. They know how to do it well, perfect timing. And I've said it time and time again. You guys have heard the analogy. I've used a burrito. You can use a hamburger. If a person has the best possible hamburger on the block, if they can't put it in the story, if they can't move it, if they can't do the proper marketing, the person that has the, as some will say, worst burger or the good enough hamburger, and they know how to tell the story, they know how to market it, they will win every time. So let me know your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. See y'all in the next one. Peace.